This may sound cliché, but it's amazing how destiny works. No one is certain how two lonely people can come to find each other, either by luck or by destiny. Then all of a sudden, things fit perfectly together. This is how we describe the story of Amy Abrahamson. But before we move on, make sure to like this video, hit subscribe, and click on the notification bell to stay updated with our channel. We'll be bringing you more wonderful stories on a regular basis. Amy was a sheltered young girl who grew up with a well-off family in Sweden. She moved to London for university and then later worked as an entertainer in Amsterdam. By the age of 29, she became a director and an art director for an auditorium in Vienna. Her life seemed to turn out perfectly according to her plan, except one aspect: she was lonely. Even though men paid attention to her, she never found the man for her. She felt lonely as most of her friends had already been married with children. In 2005, Amy was about to turn 30, but she wasn't excited at all. She planned a small vacation to Amsterdam, thinking that it would be good for her. She had planned to spend a day with her friend. While waiting for her on the streets of Amsterdam, Amy noticed couples in love passing by. She felt envious and longed for a partner to share in the good and bad moments of her life. As she felt lonely, she made a birthday wish. She thought maybe it would come true. Suddenly, Amy noticed a homeless man approaching her. She tried to run away from him, but froze out of fear. As Amy observed the poor fellow, he turned out to be a young man. Despite his face completely covered with a beard, he was dirty and had such an unpleasant stench. He asked her what time it was, despite the visibly huge clock right around the opposite bench. Amy was in shock and immediately answered that it was 5:30. Normally, Amy avoided homeless people, but that day she couldn't explain how drawn she was to the man. The man confidently spoke to her, and Amy decided to speak back, seeing as she did have enough time waiting for her friend. They seemed to be lost in their own world during the conversation. The situation seemed to be inexplicably strange, but Amy felt comfortable. Their conversation lasted for 10 minutes until Amy's friend arrived. People around the area were bewildered by the sight of the two talking to each other. The homeless man introduced himself as Vicky and jokingly asked to meet Amy again at the same place 5 days from now. Amy found Vicky's confidence impressive and exciting. She didn't think they'd meet again, but she couldn't stop thinking about Vicky during the next few days. Amy decided to take a peek at a shop nearby to watch whether the homeless fellow would come to the meeting place. Amazingly, Vicky was comfortably waiting for her at the exact same spot. Amy approached Vicky and continued their seemingly unending conversation. They shared their life stories with each other. Amy noticed that Vicky prepared himself for the meeting. He tried to groom himself despite his nails still being dirty. He showed up on a bicycle holding a suitcase. Inside the suitcase was his own sleeping bag and a can of beer. During that evening, a homeless man named David approached Amy and told her more about Vicky. David told her that Vicky had traveled from the USA to Europe and quickly ran out of funds upon arriving. Vicky had no parents to help him, and he had a bad habit of squandering every bit of cash on alcohol. Vicky had an addiction, and he was forced to live in the park for more than a year already. But David said after meeting Amy, something inside of Vicky changed. He stopped drinking. That evening, Amy thought that her time with Vicky was going to come to an end, as she had to return to Vienna. The next day, Amy left Amsterdam. She felt lonely and couldn't stop thinking about her wonderful holiday romance with a homeless man. A week passed by, and Amy turned 30. Her telephone rang the whole day, with friends greeting her a happy birthday. She was tired of answering their phone calls, but decided to answer one last time. She was surprised to hear a very familiar voice. It was Vicky. Her heart was racing. He said, "I remembered it was your birthday today and wanted to greet you personally." Vicky went all the way to Vienna to see her. He showed up near her house and Vicky asked him how he had traveled from Amsterdam to Vienna. He said he went by train, although he intended to arrive 2 days in advance. He had a bit of a hiccup when he was caught by the police for stealing chicken from a store. Amy was so happy to be with him again. Vicky stayed with Amy at her house. The man then changed his lifestyle and looked for a respectable job. After just a month of their meeting, Vicky surprised everyone with his transformation. He stopped drinking completely and totally cleaned up his act. He got employed as a technician, and after overcoming some bureaucratic problems, Amy and Vicky got married. The two had twins. Vicky had taken the challenge of taking care of his family, working even harder to fulfill the responsibility of a husband and of a father. He opened a small repair company to support the family. After 15 years, their family is still going strong. Amy never forgets their meeting in Amsterdam. She always tells her children the story, despite their young age. Her children just found it funny that their dad used to live in a random park bench. This inspired Amy to write a book, and she named it How to Fall in Love with a Man Who Lives in a Bush. The couple also appeared on TV to share their story with the world. Amy once said that for all these years, I have never regretted coming to that meeting. He is the husband I've dreamed of all my life. This story really makes us believe that we are all connected to our faithful someone. What do you think about this unusual, heartwarming story? Tell us in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. We'll see you next time.